Good morning, you beautiful bunch of fuckers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It's Monday, November 24th. We are here live. It's time for some industry insights. I see that my co-host just strolled in, so I'll bring him in right now. Brent Hutto. Brent, good morning.
I like how you said. I just strolled in.
Just casually strolled in at the last second. Right on time, though.
Yeah,
right on time.
Right on. That's great stuff. Yeah, I'm traveling in East Tennessee, as they call it up here. I'm going by to see Averett Transportation today, and looking forward. I've never been out here. This is kind of one of the bucket list places I want to go, and so excited about that. And but it's a beautiful day driving in East Tennessee.
Well, good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah,
So, what's your week like? So this is the start of the holiday season, right? Everybody quits working this week.
Yeah.
Nobody gets much done again until about mid-January now.
That's right. Well, it's from a standpoint of like some people in trucking, they take time off because I've talked to a lot of different people, and there's a lot of people that just take the whole week off, or they take a week and a half off from Thanksgiving, and because trucking does slow down a little bit. But what it does do, KR, is it provides an opportunity for owner-operators that want to haul freight. That's something they want to do during this time. Rates actually go up. They'll start sequentially going up over the next few weeks, and then they kind of peak the first week of December. And then that's a good thing. So there's always opportunity. Wherever you are, there is opportunity.
Speaking of which, we might as well just jump into that kind of stuff. Now, I will tell you, I read this morning. I read a lot of headlines. That's what I do every morning. One of the things that I've noticed, and I'm just going to be the first one to say AI this morning. One of the things I've noticed is there is more and more news. Most of it isn't even news. AI makes writing so easy. We almost kind of went down this road that you could put out articles all day long. It's just, and that's what I'm seeing happening. I'm reading an article thinking, nobody took the time to write this. Nobody would take the time to write this.
Okay.
This article exists because of AI.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also saw a weird headline in my truck news today. I don't know what this was all about. It was about 3 paragraphs just on how 5-Hour Energy could help a truck driver at 2:00 in the morning. I thought that was a really odd.
A paper on that?
No, it was just like 3 paragraphs, but it was in my truck news.
Right.
It was
that's interesting.
It was just bizarre.
That's interesting. I'm an advocate of 5-Hour Energy for a lot of reasons, and let me tell you the reason why I'm an advocate. Number one, I did marathoning for a long time, so I did a lot of long distance running, and that little shot of 5-Hour Energy, believe it or not, helps you quite a bit when you're about 18 miles into it. So, and I did a little research on why is it that 5-Hour Energy does what it does. And so, because it's not the caffeine, because it doesn't have any more caffeine, it says, than a cup of coffee, which I guess is okay. But caffeine has almost no effect on me personally. And then I looked at the ingredients. It has 3,000% more B12 than you need in a regular day.
So let's talk about that. Okay, because that's where we're going to go on this, on the ingredients. But we're probably going to disagree on most of this. So,
go for it. Yeah.
For whatever reason, B12, it must just be outrageously cheap. Our body doesn't need a whole bunch of it, but it gets loaded into all kinds of other supplements and things like this, energy drinks.
Right.
But there's bigger problems.
Okay.
They put a bunch of vitamins in here. Not really sure why, but they're the worst forms possible. It uses folic acid instead of folate. That's a huge problem. I'm actually a believer in caffeine. I mean, caffeine does have an impact on me. It sharpens my thought process. I feel better, all of that. But I'd much rather get it from coffee. Here's the biggest problem I would stay away from 5-Hour Energy: the sucralose, the sweetener that's in there.
Yeah, well, sucralose is awful.
It's a neurotoxin.
I don't know why it's needed. I don't know why it's needed, because
here's why. This drink it's very highly concentrated caffeine, because you think about it, okay, it's the same as a cup of coffee, except a cup of coffee is 12 ounces. This is 2 or something. So it's mostly caffeine, and caffeine is really bitter. So you've got to do something to cut the bitter, or nobody would drink this stuff. And of course, they want to stay away from the calories of a real sweetener, because people would be freaked out about that. But the sucralose is far worse. They should ban that stuff, seriously. It should not be in our food supply.
Really? I don't know a lot about sucralose. Tell me a little bit more about it.
It's a neurotoxin. It's really bad for your brain. Yeah. It shouldn't. We don't have any artificial sweeteners that are safe. They're all nasty. There are some.
Oh, I would agree. Yeah.
Non-caloric natural sweeteners, which really the reason they made all the artificial sweeteners was because of calories. Sugar has a lot of calories, and people were freaked out about calories. So they made zero-calorie sweeteners, but they're all chemical nightmares. There are some, like monk fruit. There's a couple non-caloric natural sweeteners that would be a much better choice. The problem is all those are expensive. Sucralose is nice and cheap.
Right. Oh, yeah, well, that's true. Well, now let me ask you this question about B12, because, and I guess this is just me using my I watched a lot of old Army movies and war movies and stuff. And do you remember when and I may have said this to you before, but do you remember when the soldier would be run down and the captain would say, "You need to go see the medic and get you a shot of B12 because it's an energy kick. It's an energy kick." I assume you probably know more about that than I do, but so tell me about what is the truth in that, because I can tell you that little whatever is in that 5-Hour Energy, it does help you, number one, not go to sleep, so it cuts off whatever B12 or whatever that does to edge your melatonin production. How does all that work together?
So B12 can help our body produce energy. The thing is, if you react that way to a B12 shot, that it makes you feel that much better, guess what it's telling us?
You're missing something else.
You were just deficient in B12. Well,
for sure.
There's plenty of B12 to get in your diet. There's plenty of good supplements. This bottle of 5-Hour Energy I'm looking at is 8,333% of your daily B12. That might be a little excessive. But here's the other problem.
It's a lot.
Let me find it again. The other one in here I really don't like is that this B12, and this is why it's so cheap, is there's lots of different forms, chemical forms of each vitamin. Some of them have multiples. Magnesium is all over the place. B12, what you're going to find in almost all the cheap stuff, even supplements, is that it's cyanocobalamin, which is the wrong form.
Right.
But that's what's always used because it's cheap. So first off, if you need more B12, just take a good B12 supplement. You don't need these kinds of levels, but you're getting the worst form possible in almost all these energy drinks, energy bars, all that stuff. And then they're almost always going to come with the load of a bunch of other stuff. artificial flavors, which they can hide all kinds of things in there. They don't have to tell you what the artificial flavors are. Anytime we bring a product into the store and it has artificial flavors and the ingredients, we dig down to make them. Before we'll put it in the store, they have to tell me what it is. And part of the reason that they don't want to, they claim, is because it's part of their proprietary formula for flavor and that kind of stuff. Okay, I get it. We don't necessarily tell everybody what the natural flavors are. We just make sure they're none of the bad ones.
Right.
So MSG falls under this. You don't have to list MSG on an ingredient list.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and MSG is another neurotoxin. So in a drink like this, where we already have sucralose and natural flavors, if there's MSG or one of the other ones in there, then it's even worse. So I know they seem like a little bottle of, oh, how bad could it be? But they're kind of nasty.
Well, and maybe I shouldn't need to now. So let's look at solutions then. What is a good solution for you need more energy immediately? Now, taking B12 pills, that's one thing, or taking B12. But what's something that's, I mean, I don't drink the energy drinks, and I know there was a couple of people in the comments mentioned that take a pour 5-hour energy into an energy drink if you want it to work. I thought that was funny. So I think, what works there?
Living the healthiest life. You know, I don't have energy issues anymore. And here's the other thing. And you talked about runners, and I know this was a huge thing with runners. You know, carb loading was the standard forever. We're finally
I know, for sure,
getting away from that because we realize all the damage that did. But then there was this idea of, and carb loading was part of what led to this. When you are carb loading and trying to do endurance sports, you have to keep reloading. That's why the gels, the goo, the drinks, because your body can only store about 2,000 milligrams of that form of energy, and you have to keep replenishing. Everybody I know that became fat adapted who are endurance athletes, they do, you know, ultra marathons with nothing but water. Their body has all the energy it needs. It produces all the energy it needs. And they find they don't need all the extra stuff. So I know we got off on a long discussion about this. I was just wondering why this little blurb about 5-hour energy for truck drivers at 2 o'clock in the morning was in my news feed.
Yeah, who knows?
Seemed like an odd thing. But we got a little health lesson today, early.
We did get a health lesson. I guess you're in double talk on me?
You're in double talk on me?
Yes.
I'm seeing if I can knock it out, so.
While you do that, I'm going to look through my news because I saw a trend today. Let me go find the original article.
Yeah, I saw something in the... Yeah.
Did you get it? All right, so we are going to...
Does that work?
Nope, still got it. We are going to switch to the economics of trucking here.
There you go.
No. All right, I'm going to do a little song and dance while we wait. We'll chase everybody away. All right. Let me get back to all my notes. Brent, did you get that figured out yet? Uh-oh.
Not yet.
Oh, there you are. All right. So I'm going to, once you come back on with me, I'm going to be talking about the confusion in the financial markets and the confusion in trucking these days. There seems to be an awful lot of conflicting information. Brent, you still with us? Uh-oh. Well, we lost.
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go. Okay.
I'm hearing the audio, but I just can't seem to get I can't mute the iPad. I can get the video to work, but it won't let me mute it, even if I turn the volume all the way down. It keeps picking up the microphone. So, yeah, one of the things that was in the news that I think is something important for all the tribe members to hear is the California thing that came out. It was reported in several different locations, that talked about there was the first AB5 ruling.
I saw that, but when I read the article, it wasn't really, believe it or not, you might be surprised to know that I agree with what they enforced.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Tell me, do tell.
Well, this is where a lot of the confusion comes in, and people who support AB5 support it for this reason, and I do too, except for the fact that we already have the rules. We could have enforced this issue a long time ago, and AB5 is just, so here's what it was. When it came right down to it, there was some big players involved, right? Amazon and was it Amazon? I think. And then a carrier, and then drivers. So that you had to kind of really read the article to understand what was going on. Ultimately, it was drivers who didn't own any equipment being paid as independent contractors. I'm completely against that. That's what should be enforced. That's what creates the confusion and the problem in the industry, where everybody says, oh, but they got to crack down on this. The drivers are being taken advantage of. Well, that is illegal already. It already has been, and we have rules in place. We've had them forever. We don't need California AB5. The IRS primarily enforces this, except they just don't, which is the problem with most of our regulations. We write all these rules and regulations, and then we don't enforce them. Then we think we need more. But I was the same way. I read that headline, and I was really interested in the case, except it really wasn't a case of a true owner-operator not being allowed to operate in California. That wasn't what this was. This really came down to a carrier treating its drivers like independent contractors, so it doesn't have to pay taxes and benefits and workers' comp and all that other stuff, which needs to be enforced. But it doesn't need AB5.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, right. Well, it didn't actually mention AB5. It says this in the article that I read, but they didn't actually reference AB5. But they did say that someone broke the law. So they went ahead and mentioned that.
And I agree with that. There are what is still standard in most places is the IRS's 21 question test about who's an independent contractor or not. Now, that's what needs to be replaced because it's overly convoluted and complicated. And most of those questions, when they've been brought up to the court, many of those questions don't work. So we need a better test. For example, the idea of if you are forced to wear a uniform, are you an independent contractor?
And that was in this.
Right. And
that was in this. Yep.
FedEx has won that argument so many times against the IRS that question should just be thrown out. It's not relevant anymore. FedEx argued, look, we have tens of thousands of our drivers going up to people's door and knocking on their door. They have to wear a uniform. It can't be people in random clothes wandering around neighborhoods knocking on doors. So they won that one. And really, that's good common sense. Just because I choose as a business owner to wear a uniform because my customer wants me to or even requires me to, that's my choice. I'm still a business owner. So can the carrier control your schedule? Well, yes, they should be allowed, whether you're an independent contractor or not, because ultimately you are working for their customer. And if the independent contractor says, "Oh, I don't care if there's an appointment, I'm independent, I'll show up when I feel like showing up," obviously that doesn't work. So a carrier who leases independent contractors can require them to meet a schedule. There's no reason not to. What it really comes down to, the courts have kind of decided, and this makes sense, there's two things you can look at. And if you meet these two requirements, then yes, you are an independent contractor. Here's what they come down to. Do you own the equipment that is required to do your job? And when it's companies who own the trucks and pay drivers to drive those trucks as independent contractors, that's against the law. That doesn't work. As long as I own the equipment and there is a risk of loss. So employees, true employees, have no risk of loss. You show up for work, you get paid.
Right. Correct.
The truck could burn to the ground that day. That doesn't affect you as an employee. You still get paid for the work you do.
Right.
As an independent contractor, I could work my ass off and still lose money. That's part of what that's because I'm in business. I took the risk. I'm independent. So those two things can really sum up the whole rule. But the IRS still has its 21 question test. Now we have a bunch of states that have come out with their own weird rules and laws. If you want to use those independent contractor rules in other industries that stay within your state, go ahead and do that. But I don't think states should be allowed to write laws that affect rules for the trucking industry because we operate nationwide. That's what the Commerce Clause is all about.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
So, I thought the same thing when I read the headline and then I read the article, and somebody was just looking for something to write about. AI did it, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So
bring it up AI. I get it.
Here's the pattern I noticed this morning, because one of the first articles I read came from ACT Research. And it said,
ACT, yep.
2025 marks a quiet end for the freight recession, ACT Research predicts. That seems like an odd headline to me. First off,
seems like a very odd headline because
first off, they say it marks a quiet end, but then it says the research predicts. Well, wait a minute. A prediction means it hasn't happened yet. I thought it was odd. Even the headline itself is odd, but the whole premise of the article. Because look at some of the other headlines I saw today. Truckload volumes fall for fourth straight month. Used truck prices steadying. I'm going to come back to that one. That was a different. It was a different issue. There were all these articles, trucking articles. Oh, Class 8 truck sales tumble 30% in October. And that was a big drop. Biggest drop in a long time. And what was the other one?
I think that, there was, to me, that's a misnomer on that. You got to be careful of that one because it's the fourth quarter of the year. Trucking companies that are struggling right now and continue to struggle right now are going to cancel orders that they had on the books. And they have the right to do that with truck manufacturers. So I'm not sure how much that is reflective of the overall health or non-health of the marketplace.
Well, the other article that I was going to talk about was interesting because, and this one also comes from ACT, used truck prices steadying, but small carriers should pay close attention to what's coming next. So truck prices, used truck prices have basically been dropping since the COVID boom. The prices went stupid during COVID. Truck prices, people were sometimes paying double what a used truck was really worth.
Right.
I tried to stop so many people from that insanity. And they've been dropping ever since. Well, this article says we've probably found the floor on truck prices, which may or may not be the case. If what we've heard
maybe.
that we still have some rough times ahead of us with rates and volumes, then more companies will go out of business, more owner operators will get rid of their trucks, the market will be even more flooded. So I'm not sure we found the floor, but what they're really, when you dig into the article, what they're really making a prediction about is another big pre-buy, because the 2027 EPA rules are still in effect. Everybody thought, oh no, Trump canceled all that stuff. Well, no, he didn't. He talked about it, but nothing has been done. The 2027 new emission standards are still in place. So what they're predicting is another big pre-buy by the fleets. But even that didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. If fleets are pre-buying new trucks, then that means they're putting their other trucks into the used market. I'm not sure why they're predicting that it even is like warning, if you're going to need to replace your truck in the next year, you should start thinking about doing it now.
Why was that?
Because they claim prices are going up. But I don't even understand the logic in here about why they think used truck prices are going up. They make it all sound like it's this pre-buy. But the pre-buy tends to have the opposite effect on used truck prices, because fleets are giving up used trucks to go buy new ones early before the new standards come in. In fact, what tends to happen, that the pattern was, if we go back to 2007, which was one of the first big pre-buy, 2003 was the big one. 2007, most of those trucks ended up not even being sold until 2008, because there was such a big pre-buy. The new models rolled out, nobody bought them. They had already pre-bought to miss that, emission standard. That was the DPF.
Right.
So I don't know, the whole, and my guess is that maybe we're just letting AI write too much of this stuff, because this one doesn't even seem to make sense to me.
Well, what's one interesting thing you were talking about, just the truck economy and the macro economy. When I say macro economy, I mean the overall U.S. economy. And you probably read this, that if you remove the spending and or investment into AI companies, properties, products, data centers, all those sort of things, we're actually economically in a pseudo recession as a U.S. economy. Have you seen anything on that?
Yeah, I have. And, and this is what we talk about. We're talking about it again, how hard it is becoming to make predictions anymore. How there are so many mixed signals and so many things we don't understand. The one I'm not sure why I'm not reading more about, did I say that right? Is what AI is going to do to jobs in the short term. Now, the prediction is, don't worry about it. Every new technology does this. We put a bunch of people out of work, but we create so much more new work that the job market always grows. And historically, that is absolutely true. So you want to say, well, it's always worked before, it's going to work this time. I'm not sure if it will, but let's put the long term aside. What about the short term? There are some serious and really well-paying jobs being lost right now to AI, fast. And I don't see many people talking about it.
For sure. No, that's true.
I talk about this one all the time because I'm very deeply wrapped up into this one. If you have been paid to write physical lines of software code, your job is done. You may not know it yet, but it's done. Humans are no longer going to write code. It just doesn't make any sense. It'd be like saying, engineers do their own math in their head. No, they don't, and they're not going to, and they're not going to use a pencil and paper and try to do all that math either. They use technology. That's just what's happened to code writing. That art or job or occupation is over with. And those are typically $200,000 a year jobs.
Yeah, well, for sure they are. Yeah, well, they're and well, I should know about it because I've been in technology for a while, and what you pay coders is astronomical.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Hi, I'm Kevin Rutherford. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe or leave a comment below. It really helps us get the show out to more people. If you'd like to get the full show, ad-free, you can sign up with the link below.